Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the starship Valiant, watching the beautiful planet Xerion Prime grow larger on the main screen. The planet looked like a giant blue jewel floating in space, covered with crystal cities that sparkled in the light of two suns. Jake had been waiting 3 years to come back to this place, and his heart was beating fast with excitement. "Captain, we'll reach the planet in 30 minutes, said Lieutenant Ben Taylor from his station. Jake nodded but kept looking at the screen. He tried to look calm, but inside he felt nervous and happy at the same time. "You okay, Jake?" asked Lisa Carter, his communications officer and old friend. She had known Jake for 10 years and could tell when something was bothering him. "You look different today." Jake smiled a little. "Just thinking about the mission, Lisa. We need to make sure these talks go well." But that wasn't the whole truth. Jake was thinking about someone special on that planet, someone he hadn't seen in almost a year. 3 years ago, Jake had been just a lieutenant on his first big mission. Pirates had attacked a space station where humans and aliens came to trade. The fighting was terrible and Jake thought he was going to die. Then she appeared like a miracle. Princess Zarathel of the Xerion Empire had arrived with her ships just in time. She used her amazing mental powers to stop the pirates and save everyone, including Jake. Jake remembered that first meeting like it happened yesterday. Princess Zarathel was the most beautiful being he had ever seen. Her skin was a soft blue color that seemed to glow with its own light. Her long silver hair moved like water, and her eyes were the deep purple color of space between stars. When she looked at him, Jake felt like she could see right into his soul. The Xerions were not like humans. They lived for 1,000 years and had special powers that let them read minds and move things without touching them. They were much more advanced than humans, with technology that seemed like magic. Princess Zarathel was their ruler, making her one of the most powerful people in the galaxy. After that first meeting, Jake had seen the princess several times during different diplomatic missions. Each time they talked a little more. She was kind and smart, not cold and proud like other royal aliens Jake had met. She seemed interested in human culture and asked Jake many questions about Earth and what it was like to be human. "Sir, we're getting a message from the planet," Lisa said, breaking Jake out of his thoughts. "Put it on screen," Jake ordered. The image changed to show the inside of a beautiful crystal room. Princess Zarathel appeared on the screen and Jake's heart jumped. She looked the same as always, perfect and graceful, wearing a flowing dress that seemed to be made of starlight. "Captain Morrison," she said, and her voice was like music. "Welcome back to Xerion Prime. I hope your journey was safe." "Thank you, Your Highness," Jake replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "It's good to see you again. We're ready to begin the talks whenever you are." "I'm looking forward to our meetings," the princess said. For just a moment, Jake thought he saw something warm in her purple eyes, but then she was all business again. "I'll meet you at the landing pad in 1 hour." When the message ended, Lisa looked at Jake with a knowing smile. "Just thinking about the mission, huh?" Jake felt his face get hot. "Lisa, don't start." "Jake, I've been your friend for a long time. I can see how you look at her. But you know this is impossible, right? She's an alien princess who will live for hundreds of years after you're gone. You're just a human ship captain." Jake knew Lisa was right, but his heart didn't care about logic. "I know it's crazy, Lisa, but I can't help how I feel." The Valiant landed on a crystal platform that rose up from the ground like a flower made of diamonds. Jake put on his best uniform and made sure he looked perfect. He was representing all of humanity, but he also wanted to look good for Princess Zarathel. The air on Xerion Prime smelled like flowers and rain. The gravity was lighter than Earth's, making Jake feel like he could float. Crystal buildings reached up toward the sky like frozen music, and gardens full of strange, beautiful plants grew everywhere. Princess Zarathel was waiting for them with a group of her advisors. She wore a long blue dress that matched her skin, and a silver crown that looked like it was made of captured starlight. When she saw Jake, she smiled, and he felt his worries melt away. "Captain Morrison," she said, walking toward him. "It's been too long, Your Highness," Jake said, bowing like he had been taught. When he stood up, their eyes met, and for a moment the whole universe seemed to stop. "Come," the princess said. "Let me show you to your rooms. Tomorrow we begin the talks, but tonight you are my guests." As they walked through the crystal corridors of her palace, Jake tried to focus on the mission. They were here to talk about trade routes and defense agreements. These talks were important for both humans and Xerians. But all Jake could think about was the princess walking beside him, her presence making him feel both happy and sad at the same time. He had loved her for 3 years, but he had never told anyone, not even Lisa. How could a simple human captain tell an alien princess that he loved her? It was the most impossible thing in the galaxy. But as they walked together through the palace of crystal and light, Jake began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, impossible things sometimes happened. The next morning, Jake woke up in the most beautiful room he had ever seen. The walls were made of clear crystal that showed the sunrise through them like colored glass. He could see the gardens outside, where strange alien flowers bloomed in, colors that had no names on Earth. The diplomatic talks began in a great hall with a ceiling so high Jake could barely see the top. Princess Zarathel sat across from him at a table made from a single giant crystal. Her advisors were tall, thin aliens with the same blue skin and silver hair, but none of them had her gentle way of speaking. Jake represented Earth along with 3 other officers from his ship. They talked about trade routes between human and Xerian space, about sharing technology, and about protecting each other from enemies. The talks were important, but Jake kept finding himself watching the princess instead of paying attention to the boring details. Princess Zarathel was smart, much smarter than Jake had expected. She knew about human history, human culture, and even human poetry. When the Xerian advisors suggested trade deals that would hurt Earth, she quietly changed them to be fair for both sides. Jake began to understand that she truly cared about making peace between their peoples. On the 3rd day, after hours of talking about shipping routes and taxes, Princess Zarathel stood up during a break. "Captain Morrison," she said, "would you like to see our crystal gardens? I think you would find them interesting." Jake's heart jumped. "I would be honored, Your Highness." They walked together through corridors filled with soft music that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Jake noticed that when they were alone, the princess seemed different. She was still royal and graceful, but she also seemed more like a regular person, not the perfect ruler she appeared to be in front of others. "Tell me about Earth," she said as they walked. "What do you miss most when you're traveling through space?" Jake thought for a moment. "Rain," he said. "I miss the sound of rain on my roof at night, and I miss the smell of grass after it rains." Princess Zarathel smiled. "That's a beautiful answer. Most humans I meet talk about cities and technology. You think about simple things." "What about you?" Jake asked, feeling brave. "What do you miss when you travel?" The princess was quiet for a moment. "Silence," she said finally. "My people can read thoughts and feel emotions from others. It's very rare for me to find a quiet mind. Most beings are always thinking loud thoughts, wanting things from me or afraid of me." They reached the crystal gardens and Jake stopped, walking. He had never seen anything so amazing in his life. The garden was full of crystal trees and flowers that grew like real plants but were made of living stone. As they walked between the crystal plants, Jake saw lights dancing in the air around them. "What are those lights?" he asked. "Thoughts," Princess Zarathel said. "In this place thoughts become visible. Look, yours are golden." Jake looked up and saw warm golden lights swirling around him like friendly stars. "What do they mean?" "Golden thoughts are honest and kind," the princess said, watching the lights with interest. "They're also very rare. Most beings have silver or blue thoughts, but yours are different." As they walked deeper into the garden, Jake felt more comfortable talking to her. She asked him about his family on Earth, about his dreams and fears. Jake found himself telling her things he had never told anyone, not even Lisa. "I became a ship captain because I wanted to see new worlds," Jake said, sitting on a bench made of smooth crystal. "But sometimes I feel very alone out here in space. Command means you can't get too close to your crew. You have to make hard choices that might hurt people you care about." Princess Zarathel sat beside him. close enough that Jake could smell her perfume, which was like flowers and starlight. "I understand loneliness," she said softly. "Being a ruler means the same thing. Everyone wants something from you, but no one really knows you." "But you have your advisors, your people," Jake said. The princess shook her head. "They serve me because they have to. They respect my power, but they don't know me as a person, and my telepathic abilities make it hard to have real friends. When you can feel everyone's true thoughts, you learn that most people lie, even to themselves." Jake looked at her and saw sadness in her beautiful purple eyes. "That sounds terrible. To always know what people really think." "Yes, it is," she said. "That's why your mind is so peaceful to me, Jake. You think what you feel. You don't lie, to yourself or others. When you're near me, I can rest." Jake felt his heart speed up when she used his first name instead of his title. "I don't understand. You can read my thoughts?" "A little," she said, looking embarrassed. "But your mind has natural shields. I can feel your emotions, your honesty, but I can't read your deepest thoughts. It's like sitting by a warm fire instead of standing in a storm." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the golden lights dance around them. Jake wanted to tell her how he felt, but he was afraid. She was being kind to him, but that didn't mean she could love a human. "Your Highness," Jake started to say. "Zara," she said quietly. "When we're alone, please call me Zara." "Zara," Jake said, and the name felt like music in his mouth. "Can I ask you something personal?" She nodded. "Do you ever think about what your life would be like if you weren't a princess? If you were just a regular person who could choose her own path?" Zara was quiet for a long time. The crystal flowers around them glowed brighter as the sun set, filling the garden with soft light. Finally, she spoke. "Every day," she whispered. "I think about it every day." That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He stood by his window looking out at the alien stars and thinking about everything Zara had told him. She was lonely, just like he was. She wanted simple things, just like he did. And when she looked at him, he saw something in her eyes that made his heart hope for impossible things. For the first time in 3 years, Jake began to wonder if maybe his feelings weren't completely hopeless after all. The week of talks was almost over. Jake felt sick knowing that tomorrow he would have to leave Zarian Prime and might not see Zara for years. The trade agreements were signed, and both sides were happy with the deals they had made. But Jake's heart was breaking. Every day, he and Zara had spent more time together. They ate meals alone while talking about books and dreams. She showed him how to make the crystal flowers sing by touching them gently. He taught her earth games and told her funny stories about his childhood. Each moment made his love for her grow stronger, but also made leaving harder. Lisa had been watching Jake all week. That morning, she cornered him in his room. "Jake, you look terrible," she said, sitting on his bed uninvited. "You're not eating, you're not sleeping. This has to stop." "I'm fine, Lisa," Jake lied, packing his clothes. "No, you're not. You're in love with her, aren't you? With Princess Zara Thel." Jake stopped packing and sat down heavily in a chair. "Is it that obvious?" "To me, yes. I've been your friend too long." Lisa's voice was gentle. "Jake, you know this can't work. She's an alien princess. You're a human, ship captain. She lives for 1,000 years. You'll be lucky to live 100. "I know all that," Jake said quietly. "But I can't help how I feel. When I'm with her, everything makes sense. When I'm not with her, nothing does." Lisa was quiet for a moment. "Have you told her?" "How can I? She's been kind to me, but that doesn't mean she could ever love someone like me. I'm just a human. She probably sees me like a pet or a child." "Maybe," Lisa said. "Or maybe she feels the same way and is just as scared as you are." That evening, Jake was surprised when a messenger came to his room. Princess Zarathel wanted to see him at the palace observatory. Jake's hands shook as he put on his best uniform. This might be the last time he would ever be alone with her. The observatory was at the top of the tallest tower in the palace. When Jake arrived. He found Zara standing by huge windows that showed the night sky. 3 moons hung in the darkness like silver coins, and a beautiful nebula painted the stars with colors of purple and blue. "It's beautiful here," Jake said, walking to stand beside her. "Yes," Zara said, but she wasn't looking at the sky. She was looking at him. "Jake, I wanted to thank you for this week. You've been a good friend." The word friend hit Jake like a punch. Of course, that's all he was to her, a friend. He tried to smile. "You've been very kind to me, Your Highness. I mean, Zara." They stood together looking out at the stars. Jake knew this was goodbye. Tomorrow he would get on his ship and fly away, and Zara would stay here and rule her empire. Maybe someday she would marry a Zarion prince and have royal children. Maybe she would forget the human captain who had visited her for 1 week. The thought of never seeing her again made Jake feel like he couldn't breathe. He had kept his feelings locked inside for 3 years, but now, on their last night together, the words wanted to come out. "Zara," he said, his voice shaking. "Yes?" Jake turned away from the window to look at her. In the soft light from the moons, she looked like an angel. Her blue skin glowed gently and her silver hair moved in the night breeze. Her purple eyes were watching him with something that might have been sadness. "I have to tell you something," Jake said. "I know I shouldn't, and I know it will probably make things strange between us, but I can't leave without saying it." Zara's eyes went wide. "Jake, what is it?" Jake took a deep breath. This was the most important moment of his life. "I have loved you for years," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "From the moment I first saw you saving that space station, I have loved you. Every mission, every time we met, every conversation we've had has made me love you more." Zara stepped back, her hand going to her throat. Jake kept talking, the words pouring out like water from a broken dam. "I know it's impossible. I know you're a princess and I'm just a human. I know you live for 1,000 years and I'll be dead before you're middle-aged. I know I have no right to love someone like you. But I do love you, Zara. I love your kindness, your intelligence, your beauty. I love the way you care about peace between our peoples. I love how you make me feel when I'm with you, like I'm the best version of myself." Tears were running down Jake's face now, but he didn't care. "I don't expect you to love me back. I just needed you to know before I left. I needed you to know that somewhere in the galaxy, there's a human who thinks you're the most wonderful being who ever lived." Jake waited for her to speak, to tell him gently that she was flattered but could never return his feelings. He waited for her to explain why humans and Zarians could never be together. Instead, something incredible happened. Princess Zarathel's blue skin suddenly blazed with bright light, so bright that Jake had to close his eyes. When he opened them, she was staggering backward, her hands pressed to her head. Light was pouring off her like she was made of stars. "No," she whispered, but not like she was rejecting him. She sounded scared and amazed and happy all at the same time. "No, this can't be happening." The light from her skin grew brighter, and Jake could feel power in the air like electricity before a storm. The crystal walls of the observatory began to ring like bells, making beautiful music that filled the room. "Zara, what's wrong?" Jake asked, stepping toward her. "Are you hurt?" She looked at him with wild eyes full of tears that sparkled like liquid diamonds. "Jake," she said, her voice breaking. "Oh, Jake, what have you done to me?" The light coming from Zara's skin slowly became dimmer, but she was still glowing softly like a candle. She sat down on a crystal bench, her whole body shaking. Jake had never seen her look so confused and scared. "Zara, please tell me what's happening," Jake said, kneeling beside her. "Did I hurt you somehow? I'm sorry if I said something wrong." Zara looked at him with tears streaming down her face. The tears caught the moonlight and looked like falling stars. "You didn't hurt me, Jake. You did something much worse. You made me feel something I'm not supposed to feel." Jake didn't understand. "What do you mean?" Zara took a deep breath and tried to stop crying. "Jake, do you know what happens when a Zarian falls in love?" "No," Jake said quietly. "We glow," Zara said, touching her still shining skin. Our bodies can't hide it. Love makes us shine like stars. That's why I was glowing when you told me you loved me. Jake's heart started beating very fast. Are you saying... I'm saying I love you too, Zara whispered. I have loved you for 3 years, just like you loved me. Every time we met, every conversation, every moment we spent together made my feelings stronger, but I tried so hard to hide it, to pretend it wasn't real. Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. But you're a princess. I'm just a human. Zara laughed, but it sounded sad. Do you think love cares about titles? Do you think my heart knows the difference between human and Zarion? She stood up and walked to the window. Jake, I have been so lonely for so long. Then you came into my life with your honest thoughts and kind heart, and everything changed. Jake stood up and moved closer to her. Then why do you look so sad? If we both feel the same way, shouldn't we be happy? Zara turned to face him, and her expression was full of pain. Because loving you is against everything I was taught. Zarians are not supposed to love aliens. Royal Zarians especially are not supposed to love anyone who isn't chosen by the council. What do you mean? Jake asked. My people believe that. Love makes us weak, Zara explained. They think emotions cloud our telepathic abilities and make us bad rulers. I'm supposed to marry a Zarian prince that the council picks for me, someone who will make our empire stronger. Jake felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. So even though we love each other, we can't be together. It's worse than that, Zara said, more tears running down her face. Jake, Zarians don't love the same way humans do. When humans love, you can love many times in your life. You can fall in love, lose that love, and find love again. And Zarians are different. Zara nodded. We love only once and we love forever. When a Zarian truly loves someone, that love never dies, never fades, never changes. It becomes part of who we are. She looked at him with desperate eyes. Do you understand what I'm telling you? I will love you for the next 1,000 years, whether you're with me or not. Whether you're alive or dead, I will love you until the day I die. Jake felt his knees go weak. The idea that this beautiful, powerful woman would love him forever was amazing and terrible at the same time. But I'm human. I'll only live for maybe 80 more years. I know, Zara said. That makes it even more painful. I will love you for 80 years while you're alive, and then I will love your memory for 900 years after you're gone. Jake reached out and took her hands. They were warm and soft, and he could feel a little electricity from her telepathic powers. Zara, I don't care about any of that. I love you now in this moment. Isn't that enough? Is it enough for you? Zara asked. Are you willing to love someone who will outlive you by so many years? Someone whose people will hate you for loving her? Jake looked into her purple eyes and saw all the love and fear and hope she was feeling. I've loved you for 3 years without any hope at all. Now you're telling me you love me back. That's more than I ever dreamed possible. Zara smiled through her tears. Your thoughts are so beautiful, Jake. Even now, when everything seems impossible, you choose hope over fear. They stood together holding hands, looking out at the alien stars. Jake could feel the warmth from Zara's glowing skin and smell her flower-like perfume. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. Then they heard footsteps in the hallway outside the observatory. Princess Zara Thel, called a voice. It was Commander Alex Bennett, Jake's second in command. Captain Morrison, are you in there? We have a problem. Jake and Zara quickly let go of each other's hands. Zara tried to make her skin stop glowing, but she was still shining softly. Come in, Zara called, trying to sound normal. Commander Bennett entered the room with 2 Zarian guards. He looked worried. Captain, I'm sorry to bother you, but we just got a message from Earth. There's been an attack on one of our colonies. We need to leave immediately. Jake felt his heart sink. Just when he and Zara had finally admitted their love, duty was pulling them apart again. How soon do we need to go? Jake asked. Within the hour, sir. The situation is very serious. Jake looked at Zara. Her skin had stopped glowing, but her eyes were full of sadness again. They had just found each other, and now they had to say goodbye again. I understand, Jake said. Tell the crew to prepare for immediate departure. After Commander Bennett left, Jake and Zara stood alone again. But everything had changed. They both knew they loved each other, but they also knew how impossible their situation was. What do we do now? Jake asked. I don't know, Zara said quietly. I honestly don't know. Jake stood in his quarters on the Valiant, throwing his things into a bag. His hands were shaking and his heart felt like it was breaking into pieces. In 30 minutes, his ship would leave Zarian Prime, and he would probably never see Zara again. Lisa knocked on his door and came in without waiting for an answer. She took one look at Jake's face and knew something big had happened. Jake, what's wrong? You look like someone died. Jake sat down on his bed and put his head in his hands. She loves me, Lisa. Princess Zarathel loves me. Lisa's mouth fell open. She told you that? Yes, and I told her I loved her too, but it doesn't matter. Her people will never accept a human, and my people will think I'm crazy for loving an alien princess. We can't be together. Maybe you can find a way, Lisa said, sitting beside him. Jake shook his head. There is no way. She has to marry a Zirian, prince chosen by her council. I have to go back to Earth and pretend this never happened. We're from different worlds, literally. Before Lisa could answer, Jake's communicator beeped. Captain Morrison, please come to the bridge immediately. We have an urgent message from the planet. Jake and Lisa ran to the bridge. On the main screen was Commander Alex Bennett, but he looked confused and worried. Captain, something strange is happening down there. Princess Zarathel has called an emergency meeting of the Zarian High Council. She's making some kind of announcement, and she specifically asked for you to watch. Jake's heart started pounding. Put it on screen. The deal. Image changed to show a great hall filled with tall Zirian nobles in flowing robes. Princess Zarathel stood at the front of the room, looking more beautiful and regal than Jake had ever seen her. But he could also see that she had been crying. My fellow Zarians, Zara began, her voice clear and strong. I have called you here to make an announcement that will shock you all. I am giving up my right to the throne. The hall erupted in angry voices. The Zirian nobles stood up shouting, but Zara raised her hand for silence. I am renouncing my claim to rule because I have fallen in love with someone you would not approve of. I have fallen in love with Captain Jake Morrison, a human from Earth. Jake felt like he couldn't breathe. What was she doing? Zara continued speaking, ignoring the angry shouts from the council. I know this goes against our laws and traditions. I know you think I am making a terrible mistake, but I cannot rule an empire when my heart belongs to someone else. I cannot marry a prince I don't love when the man I do love is flying away from me right now. One of the oldest council members stood up. Princess, you are being foolish. This human has used some kind of magic to trick you. Humans are weak and short-lived. They cannot understand true love like we do. That's where you're wrong, Zara said, her skin beginning to glow with inner light. This human taught me what love really means. Captain Morrison loved me for 3 years without any hope that I would love him back. He loved me knowing that I would outlive him by centuries. He loved me even though I'm an alien princess and he's just a ship captain. That kind of love is not weak. It's the strongest thing in the universe. The council member wasn't finished. Even if this human truly loves you, what about duty? What about your responsibility to our people? Zara's glow became brighter. I have served our people faithfully for 50 years. I have put duty before everything else in my life, but I have learned something from the humans that we Zarians have forgotten. Sometimes love is more important than duty. Sometimes choosing happiness over responsibility is the bravest thing you can do. Jake watched in amazement as Zara took off her crown and set it on the table in front of her. I am no longer your princess, she said. My younger brother can rule in my place. He will be a good king. As for me, I am going to find the man I love and spend whatever time we have together. The council erupted in chaos. Some members were shouting angrily. Others looked shocked, and a few seemed sad to see her go. Commander Bennett turned to Jake with wide eyes. Captain, what do we do? Should we wait for her? Jake felt tears running down his face. Zara had given up everything. For him. Her crown, her kingdom, her people. All because she loved him. No one had ever sacrificed so much for him before. Yes, Jake said. We wait. 2 hours later, a small Xerion ship landed in the Valiant's shuttle bay. Princess Zara Thel stepped out wearing simple clothes instead of her royal robes. She carried one small bag and looked nervous but determined. Jake was waiting for her. When she saw him, she smiled and her skin glowed with soft, happy light. Are you sure about this? Jake asked, taking her hands. I've never been more sure of anything, Zara said. I would rather have 50 years of happiness with you than 1,000 years of duty without you. Jake pulled her into his arms and kissed her. It was their first kiss and it felt like coming home. Lisa watched from nearby and shook her head in amazement. I can't believe she gave up being a princess for you. She didn't give up being a princess, Jake said, still holding Zara close. She just chose to be something better. She chose to be herself. Within days, news of what happened spread across the galaxy. The story of the alien princess who gave up her throne for love became legend. Other alien races began to look at humans differently. If humans could inspire such deep love that even a telepathic princess would sacrifice everything, then maybe humans had something special after all. Jake and Zara left on a small exploration ship to explore the far reaches of space. Together, they knew their time was limited by Jake's human lifespan, but they were determined to make every moment count. Their love story became proof that the most human thing of all was the ability to inspire others to choose love over duty, hope over fear, and happiness over tradition. Sometimes the greatest victory wasn't conquering other worlds, but helping someone find the courage to conquer their own fears. And in the end, that was exactly what they had done.